Welcome to All Aboard with Ned.
Was it Bumbleita, Bumbleita, Bumbleita?
Adam. Oh, this is literally what the goose felt like when he looked up at Steve.
Okay,
Right?
And LK.
Fuck my life.
Yeah.
Featuring Tim in Canton.
Yeah, I saw you last show. I like it.
All right, welcome back to another week of All Aboard. Last week we had the great TJ Hubbard joining, and this week again we have another legendary Hall of Fame Minifan, the caller extraordinaire, the powerful dictator, Tim in Canton. Thank you for joining.
Friend of the champion.
There you go.
And there we go.
Thanks for having me on, boys. Great to see you guys.
Likewise. Ned, LK, how's it going?
Amazing.
Yep.
Last day in Florida. Tomorrow I start my drive back to Massachusetts.
God,
oh
that
boy.
sounds. And then you're gonna quarantine for 14 days, right?
No, first I will stop at your house. I want.
Perfect.
I want you to pay for lunch first. Get some free lunch out of that deal. Then I'll continue my way to Massachusetts.
And then you'll quarantine for 14 days. There you go. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Have we heard? Speaking of quarantining, I mean, has there been any reports of anything from Sacco?
None.
Are we in the clear? That's awesome.
It's
So
gonna
far,
be
so
2
good.
weeks on Saturday, so
Perfect.
it's been, and I've been checking in with people too, and responding when I see people have been asking
Yep.
anybody any symptoms. Nope.
I mean,
All right.
guys, Sacco was great, right? You guys
Yes.
gotta tell it was great.
Yeah, we
Yes,
gotta.
let's-
Should we do it
let's
again?
keep
Should we
it up.
cover it one more
Let's
time?
keep it
I wasn't here
Let's
last
keep up
time you guys did it.
the
Do it again.
FOMO. That's
No,
great. Awesome.
Tim was so
Anyways.
funny.
Anyways, I don't know if you guys knew this. I know that it wasn't a big deal for most of you, but a few of you have been inundated by me just sending so many pictures of damages. But there was a massive tropical storm, not a hurricane. I said tropical storm. We had about sustained about 35, 40 mile per hour winds with some gusts upwards of 70 miles per hour. A lot of damage around here. Thankfully, we didn't lose power for much longer than a few minutes and at a time. And, we had internet and everything. But all of us have lived through plenty of storms. So, it got to thinking. And, we wanted to just discuss the first topic, just sticking with the latest headlines. Talk about, LK, go first. Why don't you tell us about the your favorite hurricane story?
Well, before we talk about that, I think the interesting part was that Florida is always the state that gets most hit,
Yep.
and we got not even rain this time. Like the hurricane just kept going, across the coast. So that was interesting. But I think the worst I've been through was Hurricane Sandy.
That would be that.
And the reason being was I was actually in Israel that week, Adam.
Interesting.
Wow, and it hit there too.
No, I'll get
That
there.
was a
but,
powerful storm.
Here's
There
the
it was
thing.
called Shmuley.
Yeah, I was visiting your friends there. I was visiting your
My
friends.
family,
there.
my cousins.
Yeah. I was there in how do you call it? Kabuki? What's the name of the
Kibbutz?
kibbutz? Yes, kibbutz. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in a kibbutz. Yeah,
Where
exactly.
everyone wears
Kabuki.
white
Isn't
paint
that a
and
theater?
kimonos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Kibbutz, kabuki.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
There's a lot of kabukis.
Listen,
Oh, yeah.
I'm watching.
That was beautiful.
That's a saying from Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I watch that at least twice a day.
There you go.
The words are mixed up. So I was in freaking Israel in a training, like a business trip, and back home, my ex-wife that spoke zero English with her son, in Massachusetts, brunting the not the worst of the storm, right? Because the worst was New Jersey and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But she was bitching and moaning the whole fucking week. Like, the storm is coming. We lost power. It's raining. And I'm like, what the fuck do you want me to do?
I can't.
I wasn't able to concentrate.
Yep.
She was like bitching. And I remember one of the people that were with me, he was actually from Pennsylvania, from Philly, I think. And he had a house in New Jersey where the hurricane hit. So he actually had to cut the trip short, come back home. And we were like messaging, like his house got destroyed.
Yep.
and like my flights got impacted. Like so, we traveled on a Friday night, and we had to be rerouted. It was this whole deal, and then I got home. I think 2 days worth of no electricity, and it was a mess. I think that was the one that impacted the most in an overall sense.
Yep.
I think in terms of like fucking with my life, I think it was Ivan. Back in I think 2009. I wasn't living here that time, but I came up or I had to come up for training. I couldn't get flights, and then I got the last flight. No, sorry, it was Irene. So not Ivan.
Yeah,
Irene.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Irene. And
Yep.
it was just a mess. Like the whole week, the fucking like winds coming like from the south and rain, and like I had to extend like 3 more days my trip because there was no flights back home. So
Well,
that was the most of it. Like I've never had anything destroyed.
It's-
It was just,
it's a
like,
fun-
flights.
It's a fun fact, by the way, that Irene is what part of the reason why Sandy was so bad in New York and New Jersey and why there was so much destruction, because Irene was a huge bust for us. In fact,
Yes.
I had, and my buddy was supposed to get married the weekend of Irene, and they had to move their venue, and we ended up at a hotel that had 2 weddings scheduled, my buddy's and someone else's. The other person canceled, but they'd already delivered the liquor. And the hotel was like, all right, guys,
that's
go
something.
for it.
Yeah.
And we sat there inside the
Nice.
tennis bubble in the middle of all the winds because no one's wives came. It was just all the guys. We were just sitting there. I shared a hotel room that night with one of my buddies, and he 6 months later was like, "Man, why didn't you come to Jeff's wedding weekend?" I'm like, "Dude, we shared a room together." He's like, "I have no recollection of anything that happened there." We were so gone that he had no idea that I was there. But yeah, because Irene was such a bust, nobody took Sandy seriously.
Isn't Irene the one that wiped out Bahamas?
Yes,
Is that the
I
one?
believe so.
Yeah, that's the one.
Real bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And before
It was
Tim
a
gets
bust
to
by
the
the time
joke,
it got here.
and before, I'm going to steal Tim's joke that's probably on the tip of his tongue. So the only fatality to Sandy in Massachusetts was your first marriage.
Oh, pretty much. Oh, yeah, and I'm glad about it. Absolutely.
We're here all
There
night.
we go.
I have a funny story about that trip. Well, I can talk about that one day. But
Ooh, that's
Fair
for
enough.
late night.
There we go.
That's after dark, right?
it's more like early morning. But yes.
All right, I get it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. What about you?
All right, I'm going to date myself here, so only
That's fine.
Ned will really remember these days. Maybe LK. Back in '91, Hurricane Bob.
Oh, come on. Even I remember Hurricane Bob.
You were like
I remember-
freaking 6.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I remember standing in my garage with my dad. My dad was smoking a cigarette, and we were just watching the wind go by and just sitting there. Yeah, I remember Bob.
You remember that?
I
Yeah.
do. I do.
I only remember pissing in my shoes at that age. But anyway, so Bob, it was kind of bad around here. You know how, Adam, you're from around here. So it's when it hits in LK, you probably know it now. When it hit, by the time they get here, it's the storm surge that's the worst.
Right.
So it's the coast. And then, believe it or not, out towards Worcester and Springfield is always where it gets the worst, right? It tracks up in the middle. So we don't get it bad in the burbs of Boston. But we were supposed to have our class reunion was usually Thanksgiving. In the Northeast, it's usually on Thanksgiving weekend, and it was our 5-year class reunion. And we wanted to do it different. So we were going to have it down the Cape, like around Labor Day. And or whenever it hit, but anyway, Hurricane Bob wiped out the venue, completely wiped it out because it was on the water. It was the casino in Falmouth.
Yep.
Other than that, I haven't really, thankfully, knock on wood, been very, very fortunate. Haven't been affected by any hurricanes. Only thing related to a storm that really scared me was I was in Kansas City, and there was a tornado warning. And that scared the shit out of me.
Those
right? You hear the sirens and everybody just runs to shelter. That really hit home. Because
Tim, I don't want to date you or anything, but I was hoping that you were saying
I'm
the
married
one
and I
thing.
have kids. And I'm with the guys, so.
We can work on that.
I was doing some math here, right? I was doing some math here, like 5-year reunion, 91.
No, I know.
He
I was doing
graduated
that
86.
similar way.
86.
No, but I always I've always found that everyone about 10 to 15 years older than me and older, when they talk about storms, the only storm that ever comes up is the blizzard of '78.
Oh, yeah.
So lived through it.
Yep.
and lived
Yep.
through it. But the times were different,
Yep.
right, Ned?
Yep.
They were different. We didn't have anything you have today. You had rotary phones.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a kid. We were out of school for 2 weeks. We had to get the newspaper would print your assignments. Not that we
Yeah.
did any, and there was no
Oh,
major
wow.
equipment, and it came in
Right.
so fast it froze everybody. But we've had
Yep.
worse storms. We've had more snow,
Yep.
but we haven't had a storm that did as much damage, especially because of the surge.
Yep.
Wiped out a lot of Situate, Plymouth. But yeah, 78. I do remember 78. I remember
Blizzard is
walking
78.
on snowdrifts or snowdrifts above your head and skiing in the street. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
How about you, Ned? Like, you probably have a lot of stories about hurricanes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. And actually, to be honest now, I've got so many that I've lost track of the names. Even the most recent one in 2017, which was the only storm we've had to go through in this house. But 92 was Andrew. That was the worst
Yep.
storm
that
that we
was
had
bad.
in Florida.
Yeah.
It wasn't very big in
was
space.
bad.
It was not. It was a very deceptive storm because it was tracking northeast and then at a slow pace, then it hit the Bahamas and turned due west. So we thought we were in the clear. We're going to be in the clear. We're under hurricane watch, but it's going to, like this last one, skirt by us. And instead, it turned around and came right at us, and it had there was some strange aspects to that storm. They said the internal core was had 200-mile-an-hour gusts, which they said that's tornado. So and some of the destruction that it did was like tornado like. But where I live up in Broward County, like west of Fort Lauderdale, it was pretty bad. But Miami and South. My office was in Miami, and it was pretty much destroyed. And people who lived further south, they lost everything.
Yep.
And the bizarre thing about that was everything was closed. It was kind of like COVID for like 2 weeks. There was no real electricity. So your bosses said, they didn't pay you, of course, but they said use your vacation time and sick days.
Right.
Don't come to work. Airports are closed. Everything's closed. You saw a lot of what was kind of cool and interesting at the same time. A lot of military vehicles going down to Homestead Air Force Base.
Yep.
Delivering stuff. And my buddy and I we used to work construction in high school and in college in the summers. So he was an undercover customs agent, and he was stationed in Fort Lauderdale. And he calls me, and goes, "Are you working?" And I said, "No, I'm off." He goes, "Well, you want to go down and volunteer and help tear down houses and maybe put some roofs on?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go do that."
Do it.
So we drove down below Miami, like above the Keys. For you guys who don't know, above the Keys, but below Miami, and Everglades are to the west. And those giant power holes, the ones that they're up like 12, 15 stories high with the high tension wires.
The big
They were
stanchions.
down. They were down.
Wow.
And we were like,
That's crazy.
and my buddy's driving, and he's like, should we go over these on the Florida Turnpike? And I'm like,
Oh, really? They were across the highway?
Holy
Yeah.
crap.
And I'm like, I'm hoping there's no power. And he
Yeah.
goes, well, if there'd be power, we'd be seeing dead people.
Yeah.
So we drove. I mean, it was amazing. So we got down
amazing.
there, and we're near the biggest building was the Burger King headquarters, right?
Mm.
So, and that was on Biscayne, that was on the bay. So you could see it, and it was maybe 5 miles away. So we're on the roof of a house that was destroyed. And our job was we joined a team where you had one team stripping shingles, tiles, and paper off of roofs. We're pulling off old bad boards, and we're putting on new boards so they can do new paper behind us and new shingles. I mean, we were doing this this was like less than a week after the storm. So we're already like pulling things down and fixing things, right? And then we're doing it for fun. We're not getting paid.
Yeah.
But I stood up on the house, and I just remember looking around at a 360-degree angle. There wasn't a single tree standing.
Wow.
Not a single tree.
That's
All
It was
the
pretty
palm
heavily
trees gone.
treed.
Yeah,
Everything was
seriously.
gone. All the oak trees, all the mangoes, all the trees. We're down by the zoo too. So a lot of the animals had escaped, the lions, and it was wild.
That's
Yep.
And
nuts.
we were out of power at home for, I want to say about 10 days. But my dad and my mother who lived, and my brother who lived maybe 2 or 3 miles, maybe 3 miles as the crow flies north of us, they didn't get touched with power. They kept their power the whole time. So we ended up piling over to their house to sleep in the air conditioner.
There you
So
go.
Ned, do you get are you, I don't want to say blasé, but do you get kind of numb to the warnings or the watches, or
No.
like us with blizzards? Like it's like, all right, there's a blizzard coming. We know what we need to get. You're from Maine, you
Yep.
get
Yep.
your supplies, and you shouldn't go out during it. But it's like, okay, we'll just get through this. No big deal.
Yeah.
How is it for you now when you hear there's a hurricane coming? Because they always we were texting.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
Hope everything works out, and it turns out
Yeah.
You
But
know,
we
yeah,
watch
right.
him, and I got a great weather app, My Radar. It's fantastic.
Yes. Do you have the Pro or do you use the?
I have the Pro. Yeah. 'cause I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
all the,
likewise.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's fantastic. So, and also, I also on Twitter, I'll follow all the hot weather girls in Florida, and that's their, if it bleeds, it leads thing is like, oh, we've got a tropical depression forming off of, the Ivory Coast in Africa, and so like, okay, that's about 10 days away. I don't have to worry about it,
Yep.
So when this starts once it forms a depression, and then they have the sophisticated models where what's pretty much going to happen.
Yep.
So yeah, I know I do watch them, and even this one was going to be dangerous, and I thought it was going to be. I thought even a Cat 1 is going to be nothing, but it's going to be probably going to lose power and sweat.
Yep.
But it was the weirdest storm because, as LK said, all the convection was on, and I watched it that morning. Yep. I sent a video. I put a video up on Twitter, but the only squall that came through, that was the worst of it, and that was like 5 minutes. It was probably like 50-mile-an-hour gusts, and the rain was going sideways. That was it.
Yeah.
So it was worse from north
people
to
that
Jersey north.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
So when I looked in the radar, it's like all the convection, all the weather and wind was on the west side. So the Bahamas got a good punch. Not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they could handle it. But I'm like, over here, I'm like, it wasn't sunny, but I'm like, and LK, you must have got nothing in Orlando. It was
I
like
got a little bit
nothing.
of rain. That was it.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why I was giving Adam shit about the weak ass trees in his neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, a tropical storm, 30 mile an hour.
Well, I'm gonna stay in Florida, and I'm gonna go back 15 years to Katrina.
Oh yeah.
So my grandparents lived next door to you, Ned, in Hollandale.
Mhm.
And my grandfather was very sick. He passed away about a month later, but he was on. He needed all sorts of devices that needed electronics, and so we all, myself, my parents, my siblings, their spouses, we all flew down to Florida for the hurricane. Yeah. So their building lost power. We, my brother-in-law, my brother and I lugged a massive generator up 4 flights of stairs, plopped it down on their apartment balcony, and plugged in all their stuff. I always remember it for 2 things. The first is I was staying at the Diplomat Hotel on the beach.
Nice.
My grandparents used to live literally a 5-minute walk from the Diplomat.
Adam's family is loaded.
Wow. I told you.
No.
I told you, the Diplomat.
Those
Mafia
Jewish
money.
people, man.
Yeah. Told you guys.
So we were staying there, and we got this notification, and I had just turned 21 2 weeks earlier. So I'm this schmuck moron kid, and as opposed to now, and so we get this call from the hotel, and they leave a message on everyone's machine saying, whatever you do, don't open the balcony door, stay inside, stay safe, blah blah blah. So what am I doing? I go out and I open the balcony door. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. I'm watching the waves crash, and then all of a sudden, this fucking sand bucket flies right past my head, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking go back inside now. Slam the door shut, lock it. About 5 minutes later, my phone rings, and this is the second thing. So if anyone ever wanted to doubt how where I'm from, I celebrated, like I said, 2 weeks earlier, my 21st birthday, getting hammered at Jillian's. Bowled, I think, a 15, and that was how drunk I was. I ended up throwing up on a Boston police car that night.
Nice.
Moving car that was following us, and it was my friends and I were in the first car. My other friends were behind the cop, and the cop was between us. And my head was sticking out the window like a fucking dog. And my buddy behind said that he saw the cop, go down and start typing, and he's clearly looking to see if there's anything on the car, try to find a reason to pull us over. And while his head was down, I just hurled, and it flew all over the side of his car, so he didn't even see it. So whenever he got back to wherever he was going, he had a nice little present for him. But I,
Just during a hurricane? Wait a minute.
No. This is sorry. This is a tangent. But I met I fooled around with a young lady while we were at Jillian's that night.
That was a bowling pin, Adam. You were just a bowling pin.
She was not the most attractive girl, And so I did not give her my real number. That was my plan. I was so drunk that 5 minutes after I went back inside on the night of Hurricane Katrina, my phone rings and I answer it. I meant to give that girl a fake number. I gave her my real phone number, and she called to see if me and my buddies wanted to hang out. So that was my hurricane story.
Jesus, Adam, that's so like convoluted.
Well, this is
and Katrina didn't even hit Florida. It hit like
New Orleans.
Well, it did.
New Orleans, right?
Listen, it destroyed Broward County too. It did some serious damage to Broward County.
Did it go through?
Yeah. It damaged a lot of Broward County. I mean, it was nothing compared to.
We got Tim and Canton with us, and you're talking to us about getting a blowjob at 21.
I know, yeah.
Like for a
From an
girl you're
ugly
trying
girl.
to ditch. Jesus.
To think Adam's Hurricane Katrina story is about hooking up with some chick we didn't even give his number to, and yet
2 weeks
people
prior,
died
yes.
in New Orleans.
Yeah, congrats
Oh,
on
the
the
horror.
You want to tap on the back?
Well,
That's
you know,
all.
I'm just
It
happy.
did come through Broward, though. It was bad in Broward.
Yeah, it was.
I wasn't
And-
here. I was in Maine.
And I will say that I'm happy that back then social media wasn't such a big thing. And speaking of which, I think we wanted to talk a little bit about that, and that's why they call me the Segway King.
Nice.
Not really, but let's go with that. That's fine. Yeah.
Smooth. About as smooth as our third intro.
Yeah, right.
It only took
Welcome
three
to another
times.
week of All Aboard.
Yeah, it only took 3 times this time. So.
Yeah, right. But we saw that the story about Jake Paul getting his house raided. And I think LK, you were interested in this, and I think we can talk about the impact of social media. But why don't you take it away on this?
And can you give us a recap on, because I read it up on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure who this guy is and what the
I'm with
attraction
Ned.
So, yeah, Jake Paul is
Okay, boomer.
I've heard the name. All right, I heard the name. Punk.
So it's interesting. The first time I saw Jake Paul, he was like dropping his legs open, like on those like weird videos, like 6 years ago, traveling the world. So that's how he started. Then he became like this huge YouTuber, influencer, and apparently he was throwing some parties like 2 weeks ago, and obviously during Corona in LA, people are concerned. So they started like complaining about him, but not happy enough. He was sharing those videos on social media, and someone saw guns, in his property. And I think that's what triggered the FBI to have a search warrant.
Well, there's also that, and he also was seen in a video of looting at the Scottsdale, Arizona mall.
Yeah, it was in Arizona, right? Yeah.
Right, but Arizona dropped. That was a few weeks. That was back when the riots were at their height.
Yeah, so but
Arizona, but Scottsdale, Arizona. So Arizona dropped their state charges now, citing this federal investigation, sort of implying that the federal investigation is now going to connect all of this together, and so that is tangentially.
Yeah, that's what led for the FBI going there. But I think it all goes because he's a cloud chaser, right?
Yep.
He lives off of people viewing his videos, and the reason he was in Scottsdale to look the mall was to get views, right?
Yep.
And so I think his whole camera crew went to jail with him as well, and the whole 9 yards. But I think that goes to the point of social media and oversharing, right? Because I look back in the day when I was like, I don't know, from 15 to 20, there was no social media. It was only starting. We didn't even have phones that could take pictures. And thank God, because I don't know what would happen if all the pictures of shit that I did was online.
Well, I mean, forget that, but it's also like look at NFL quarterbacks. They nowadays they get drafted, and 20 minutes later, all of their tweets from for 6-7 years ago when they were in high school is now on blast. And I guarantee you, my tweets would have been just as offensive if I was some idiot that could tweet whatever I wanted in high school. I mean, it's crazy that they were there. But the thing with Jake Paul is his brother also is a famous YouTuber. Yep. They're a pair. His brother got in hot water a few years ago somewhere in China.
No, Japan.
Japan, sorry.
Japan, the suicide
There
bar.
is the suicide forest, right? And he took a video in there.
I remember that.
And he was the one who, showed people hanging from the trees.
What a douchebag.
But you talk about this like quasi-famous people, right? They need the views, right?
Yep.
But then you see like normal people posting shit, and then they find a job and people start looking to their social media, they get fired,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Or they don't even get hired because of what they post on social media. And it's getting worse and worse because if it was just your personal stuff, obviously you need to take care of it, make sure you represent yourself everywhere.
Yep.
But it's becoming highly political nowadays, right?
So can I ask a question with the
Sure.
Jake Paul thing? I did see
Yeah.
that on Twitter. That's my main social media platform that I follow. Were the guns illegal? I mean, it's not illegal to own guns, but do we know if they're illegal? Or
I
did he
think
have...
they were illegal, and there were a ton of assault weapons.
Yeah, it wasn't like your regular handgun.
Right. I'm assuming there was something there because I saw pictures of just dozens of guns just being carried away, and they also brought I don't know what they were expecting. He wasn't home at the time, but they brought SWAT teams.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I think they had like 20
I think
plus people.
the
they do
neighbor,
that for their own safety.
the neighbors don't like him
Right.
because of
The mayor
party
doesn't.
and
The
all
mayor
that.
doesn't like him.
Yeah,
So where
and-
does he live? California or
Yeah,
Arizona?
Yeah, Calabasas.
Okay. They have pretty strict gun laws.
Yeah, and I'm
okay.
thinking all the neighbors. There's probably a lot of inflation people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, they just like trying to get rid of him, so they probably just ganged up on him.
He can buy as many if it's legal. He can buy as many guns as he friggin' wants.
Oh, for sure.
You know? So that's why I wonder when a lot of times when you see this happen, a lot of it's for show. It's like anything, we're all in business. You know how it goes. You come out strong and loud and proud, and then those charges get whittled down, and it's it's something like illegal possession of ammunition, but the gun's illegal. I just wonder when that happens. But is he a big anti-gun guy too? Is that what I saw?
I don't know if he's a big anti-gun guy. I mean, listen, he's a famous person in today's world, so you have to assume he tweets anything that is of liberal leanings, and that if he didn't, he wouldn't have the following he has. But yeah, I mean,
but you know what's amazing, Adam? Or I think LK, you said it. He's a clout chaser. But if you think about as you get older, right, less and less of the younger people coming up in Hollywood. But if you think about it, this guy probably has exponentially millions more people that know his name than one of the hottest young stars in Hollywood, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really overtaken. So when you ask about social media, it's overtaken
it is.
Hollywood in some aspects, right?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Again, it goes back to the point that I think God there was no social media back in the day, because I remember going out, drinking, getting drunk, and then the next day going to work. And by the way, driving from the club to home, and then to whatever I need to go. So imagine if it was nowadays, I would be posting this shit and people would see, you were drunk and now you're here, get out of here,
This is really a basic issue though, and I saw it first on MySpace when my daughter first showed me MySpace when she was 12.
Oh, you're old.
And on the family computer. Yeah. Well, my daughter's almost Adam's age.
Ned, I remember it too, buddy.
She's 12 and I'm like, what is this? So I'm watching over her shoulder and I'm like, so what does it do? And she would say, well, basically you could take pictures of yourself and scan them onto your computer and show them to your friends and post them on the internet. And I'm like, so what, you're now going to be famous? And she goes, well, yeah, you can get famous. So this was the Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian. I'm talking about 2004, 2003, 2004. Before Facebook and everything else took off. And the narcissism involved with all this is what
it's getting worse, right?
is.
The kids nowadays are conditioned to that.
That's the problem is everyone thinks oh, look, take a selfie. I mean, we have senior leaders in my company that's all they do is take selfies.
Yep.
And, but it's ridiculous. It's your narcissism. So I really, and part of me says, I don't feel bad for those people politically or not, or if you garner this type of attention, you've got to take the responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean,
that I think is the key. He
uploaded the parties at his house in Calabasas. He already was at war with his neighbors. The mayor has hated him. So they look for any excuse, and then he's taking pictures of people with guns and not social distancing. And then, it's a sentiment to exactly.
But you know what? It worked. We're talking about it.
I'm not paying him any money.
Right? Yeah.
Four guys who are doing a YouTube show talking about how stupid a YouTuber is.
But here's the thing, right? You're not paying him directly, but if you go watch all his videos, he's getting money out of it.
My thing with social media is it's like technology, right? Okay, it's a double-edged sword, right? I think it is wonderful because you can get information like I say about this COVID pandemic. We all have our own experts. For every expert that I agree with, there's one that disagrees with, right? So you could do that for every single thing in the world. You can be proven right. Now we have access to that. I think that is wonderful because we're not spoon fed. And then the flip side is what we all know. I mean, we've all got kids. Adam, I know yours are younger, but Ned, LK, I know I'm dealing with it right now, and the pitfalls of social media are awful. And the thing, I agree with LK, and I know we're all in the same boat. I thank God that it wasn't around when I was young, but I also feel awful that these kids can't make a mistake and never outlive it.
Right. Correct.
Because people do forget over time, and guess what? People grow up, they mature, and these kids will never, ever be able to live it down, and that's a shame. I think that's awful, and it's a shame.
I mean, I completely agree. I think that, I look at my older nieces and nephews, for example. I mean, like, my sister asks me all the time to check my nephew's followers or who he's following on Instagram to make sure that, that's not any issues. And, I think that social media, like you said, Tim, it is a very good thing. I'm a big proponent of social media in general. I think there's a lot of value to it. And it also, I mean, hell, look at all of us. I mean, this is the Minifan community exists on social media. I mean, it's great. But it's I think the double-edged sword is exactly it. It's besides the fact that there's a lot of the clout chasing and the inability to ever have anything forgotten. There's also issues now that I'm sure again you guys are dealing. You Tim are dealing with it probably with your kids, and I hope to God I don't have to, but I know I will. There's a huge increase in online bullying, and people feel empowered when they can know that they can just go online and hide behind the screen.
And not only that, Adam, I think it also exacerbates. It can exacerbate behavior. People that have issues in behavior. Yep. And it is such a dangerous thing.
They program it to be addicting. They program it to your pleasure centers,
But and I think
and to do the repetitive motions and
And what scares me is the access to information. Right, my son is 4 years old. He's like talking and learning words that maybe back in like 10 years ago, kids that were 10 years old were talking about. Not curse words, but like advanced words, because he's watching movies on YouTube every freaking second.
No, for sure.
And that's the other thing is you can't, because those screens are so small, you literally have, like you're doing, Adam, or you have to go through your kid's phone or iPads or tablets to see what you can't see anymore what they're doing. Remember, again, I'm dating myself. We used to call it Cinesmut, after Skinamax, after dark, right? And you turn it over, and then you hear someone coming in, you turn it back, right? Well, those days are gone. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're watching. I have no friggin' clue.
I know.
No, for sure. And I think that the one last thing that I wanted to mention is also the fact that with social media, you also have the I completely lost my train of thought.
Is it a 21?
I'm trying to think about it.
And a hand job on a balcony during hurricane.
There you go, Ned. There you go.
So
I heard that.
Social media.
Fuck that. I'm gonna get crushed for that one. By the way, hey.
With social media, you see crazy people saying that the coronavirus was all planned, right?
Oh, is that your segue? Is that your segue?
Oh, there we go.
That was excellent. That was friggin' excellent.
Well played.
Another smooth segue.
And with that, Tim and Kenton, why don't you start the loony bin?
So we're not gonna. What did you call it?
The loony bin.
All right, LK, get his address on the way up.
I know.
I'll make this stop by. I'll just stand out in Newton. Who's got a kid named Adam in Jersey?
Jewish boy.
You won't find a lot of Jewish Adams in Newton, Mass.
In Newton, right? So, it's not about this virus being real. Let's just get that off the table. The virus is real. I totally agree with it. What I have said from the get-go, and I've got some people who agree with me. One of them is sitting on this panel right now. So he's obviously a very intelligent, informed person. But the fact that we are being lied to constantly. People call it a conspiracy. They call it paranoia. Except the problem is everything turns out to be true. Connect the dots, like I always say.
No.
You don't have to connect the dots; they connect them themselves. So
Right.
I'm gonna start out real quick with one thing
Laid
that
out.
I want you guys to remember from this, and I'm gonna be on Channel Zero's show to talk about it.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is the 1,000 Talent Plan or the 1,000 Talents Program. Be scared. Be very afraid. I know all of us on this panel hate fucking communists. I've
No,
seen
yep.
some
I'm
of
gonna
your
write this
tweets.
down.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
1,000 Talents Plan. The Chinese, if nothing, have a plan. They always have.
Oh, of course.
And
Yeah.
and it's a long-term plan. We're playing checkers. They're playing chess. Whatever analogy you want to use. Mao sacrificed 50 million people to keep his vanity in power. That's all it was about.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, so they have no problem sacrificing their own people.
Yep.
1,000 Talents Plan is a program which, on the surface, sounds good. America does something similar, in that the Chinese Communist Party, I'm not talking about the Chinese people, the Communist Party in China has a plan where they tell Chinese nationals, go out, go forth and multiply, as the saying goes, and bring that knowledge, bring that education back to China.
Right.
So they want everything to come back to China. And I'm not talking about counterfeiting handbags. I'm talking about technology. I'm talking about biomedical, chemical, you name it. Okay. They steal it. They're the masters. These fucking communists are the masters at stealing everything that people have created.
That's right.
Not only have they asked their citizens to do it, they've asked non-nationals to do it. And I bring to you Dr. Charles Lieber of Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
I can't hear it without thinking about your call and just immediately giggling. Just throwing that out there. I'm now just like, now all of a sudden I hear Greg Hill just hanging up on you.
Sometimes I
Anyways,
am serious.
no, please do continue. But no.
This pisses me off. So I'll give you three acronyms: BS, BSL4, and BU. BS stands for two things: bat soup, and what else it stand for? Bullshit. This whole thing is bullshit. Wet markets, bullshit.
Yeah.
Wet markets are still going on today. It didn't just happen in fucking Wuhan, Hubei, province, China, and that's the only place it happened. That's a lie. It was a lie from the get-go. This has been
You think
going
it's
on.
a cover-up or just a truth?
Absolutely. This is a conspiracy. It's a cover-up. It's a lab.
It's a lab.
This is COVID-19 is real. COVID-19 is actually in nature. It does happen.
Sure.
My theory is, and I'm not even sure this was done on purpose, I think that under the 1,000 Talents Plan, the Chinese brought Dr. Lieber in and they paid him $50,000 a month to set up two laboratories in Wuhan, China. He worked for the Wuhan University of Technology, I think, WUT. His job was to set up two laboratories. The guy is in nanoscience. So people will say, well, he's not even in that field. No, but he's in a field where he is figuring out how do they deliver biological elements through electricity. So this all sounds weird, but he's the guy doing it, not me. I didn't come up with it. So they paid him to go over there, build this facility. By the way, for I think 6 years, he had been getting paid by the U.S. NIH and the U.S. DOD to come up with some. He did a lot of research. He came up with some, I don't even know what. So BS has to do with bullshit. It didn't come from a wet market. Wuhan is where the wet markets were. This is what's racist about China. They blamed the wet markets for spreading the coronavirus. They themselves said our people are so dumb that have been doing this for thousands of years that they caused the virus. Really? They've been doing it for 1,000 years. I will trust a person who's been doing it every day of their life just because they don't have money. I trust that they know what they're doing versus someone who tells me that they did it wrong. Right. And the other thing that people don't tell you about the wet markets, the only people who eat that shit are the rich people in China. It's a delicacy. Right. Yeah. The day-to-day people aren't going to the wet market and buying. Exactly. It's a lie on a lie and a lie. Exactly. So I think that Lieber went over there. I think he set up these laboratories. There's two other people that have been named that Harvard will tell you is not involved, which is another lie. And I think he inadvertently was trying to figure out, how do I deliver something? One of the biggest biological threats is, can you deliver it through aerosol? And that's one of the biggest challenges, right? We all know that from ISIS and what have you. Thank God you can't, right? But if you can figure out how to do it electronically or some other way, it can be effective. I think they were doing this and it got bigger than they realized, and it got out, kind of like 12 monkeys, right? It got out of the cage and it got infected. And Lieber is knee deep. Let me just leave you just to think about this.
Is Lieber American?
Lieber is American.
Yeah,
He is a chair at Harvard University.
So nothing happened to him.
Not yet.
Oh no, he's in big doo doo. He's in big. Yeah.
Touch on that, Tim, before you close off with him, because that's new news.
So Lieber was first charged in January with 2 other Chinese nationals. One of them lied. Well, they all lied. 2 of them lied about why they were here. They made false statements. So did Lieber. Yep. One of them was already back in China. Turned out they lied. They were part of the People's Liberation Army. They were a lieutenant in the army.
They went back.
The other one, they went back. One was a student. They're both master's students at BU. So BS, BU, and BSL-4. BU runs BSL-4. For those of you who don't know what a BSL-4 is, it's the highest level of biosafety laboratory you can have in the United States. These folks deal with anthrax. They deal with biological and chemical agents that would kill you if you even looked at it. I remember when they opened this in Boston, there was a big hubbub about it. Is it going to be safe? How can we protect it? Guess which university runs BSL-4? It's BU. They had 2 students, and guess who had had an arrangement with the BSL-4 lab? Dr. Charles Lieber. So he set up a company. He's a chair at Harvard. He's working at a BSL-4 lab that is run by BU. 2 people from BU get caught lying. One of them had already skedaddled back to China, who turned out to be an agent of the PLA. And the other one was caught at Logan Airport in December of 2019 with 21 samples that they've yet to say what they were. They say they were cancer samples. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I don't know why they'd be at a BSL-4 lab.
Right.
And they were arrested. They're still being detained. You don't hear that person's name. Another thing about Lieber, he got charged with making fraudulent statements. And you make a fraudulent statement to the United States government, they're coming down hard on you. They have to. They have to set a precedent.
But have they? Have they yet?
They have.
Okay.
And I remember reading tweets about this. The guy's bail was $1 million for making a false statement. You don't get $1 million bail for making a false statement and have to give up your passport. You get go home, $10,000, maybe 50 grand. Don't go anywhere. You work at Harvard. So this is way, way, way bigger than we've been told. You haven't heard about wet markets in forever, right? Mm-hmm. And the other thing I had always said from the get-go, it's about bat soup. So this is where I think the Chinese are brilliant. They look at Americans and say, Americans look at Chinese and they think we're all the same. They think we're all subhuman. They think we all don't know what we're doing. They think we all just make Chinese food and that we do line. It's very their view of us, of them, is very, very racist.
Yes. Right.
And I think
and incorrect, by the way, but
it is. It's so incorrect.
So
they've infiltrated academia. They have a narrative. If you look at all the top schools, most of their funding, far and away, is from China.
Yep.
And what they did was they created a narrative, and this is all going to come back to toilet paper, by the way. They created a narrative, and they said, what will get the Americans worked up? And what's the first thing you heard when you saw that woman eating bat soup? You're disgusted, right?
Yep.
Wanted to throw up? Totally worked. That's nothing but a mind game. Again, that's a delicacy. Day-to-day people in China don't eat it. They think it's disgusting. But what do we think? Oh, the fucking Chinese. They're gross. They eat bat soup. They eat it out of a bowl. Well, how is it that a bat can be confined to one province? They don't know boundaries.
Right, exactly.
And Hubei was the only province that was shut down. The only one in the entire country, which tells me this was a controlled, accidental, maybe purposeful release. They played on our fears. And by the way, China's attacking us right now. We're probably going to get shut down at some point. Yep. They do this all day long and twice on Sundays. They are geniuses at what they do from a social, political, and this is where I'll wrap it up. Lieber's in deep shit. The person that they arrested from China is still in jail. You don't hear anything about them. The person that went back to China, they can't get. They were a fake name, what have you. Think back to when this whole pandemic started. And in social media, this is a great way to go. I don't know what you call going back with a segue, but we're talking about social media. When the pandemic started,
together.
What was the biggest run on? It wasn't water.
Yeah, toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
Same thing in Florida during hurricanes, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So nobody can say where that started. Nobody knows where it came from. Right. All of a sudden, it was just like, hey, did you see there's a run on toilet paper and paper towels? I think the Chinese looked at this and said, how do we break their supply chain? What's the quickest way to do it? Freaking easy. Paper products. It's limited supply, right? It's an environmentally protected industry. And they broke the supply chain, and nobody can pinpoint where they said, oh, there's a flu. Instead of getting Theraflu liquids, people ran out and got toilet paper. And I think this is exactly what they did on the political side. I think they infiltrated social media to say there's a run on toilet paper. Did you see this? Did you see that?
I think that's almost to a point where they were mocking us, right? Hey, let's play with them like they're like
it worked.
lab monkeys, right? Let's make them crazy.
Dance on the chain, little monkey.
Yeah, but I do have a follow-up question to you, because I suspect you have researched and been looking at it. I want to get out of the conspiracy route. I want to ask like a practical question. All I see about China is that they're back in business, right? My company, like their offices in China are open. It looks like they are exporting like crazy. Like what pisses me off is the whole world are in their knees, trying to get back to work, trying to get back to be a functioning society. And China is acting like nothing's going on. Like, so my question to you, do you think they did that to kind of fuck with everyone and say, hey, if it's not us, nothing works in this world because we own all the exports?
No.
I know you can't be more than 100%. I'm 1,000% behind that theory.
Yeah.
China holds almost, not all. China holds the most amount of the U.S. debt. They know we can never pay it back. So how else can they get us back? To crush us. They can live like that and get by. They can live with a lot of people that are living in what we would consider poverty. That it means nothing to them. A human life.
Because they don't care. They don't care.
To the communists, not to the people. To the communists, it means nothing. It's about the party. It's not about the people. The people is just a feeder to the machine.
Tim, doesn't Lieber also have some contracts with the government?
I don't think he does. He did, but I don't think he does anymore. I think those expired
he's
like
the DOD
quite a while ago. Yeah.
How much money does this guy make?
National Institutes of Health as well. He got 15 million from the U.S. government. 15 million.
50,000 a week from the Chinese.
50,000
So
a month.
Here's the thing. I know I was making fun of it before, but I completely I'm with you on this. I don't find this to be crazy. I think that it's definitely more to this. I remember seeing pretty early on a couple articles popping up here and there, and not just from like conspiracy places, but legit mainstream media articles about the fact that there were strains of that when they were examining the COVID strains, it was clear that it was that it was created in a lab. Like there was proof of it within the strain, and then it just completely that narrative just disappeared.
The liberals don't wanna follow this narrative.
Tim's gonna have so much fun with Channel Zero. I'm so jealous because they're gonna get you into
fear too. Governed by Fear is a great theorist. He's very, very knowledgeable.
Because they're gonna get what we're talking about here is the social media day narrative. Narrative. It changes every day. Yep. So Adam, what you just said was absolutely true. I remember that story as well. That it's been proven that it's in the lab, but that was I don't even remember when April.
Yeah,
it's gone now.
How about we go to the source?
What's that?
How about we go to the source and try to hear from the Supreme Leader? If you have anything to say about that?
I've been in touch with him. He believes it's all fake anyway. They don't have coronavirus. There's two things that they don't have in North Korea: gay people and coronavirus. They don't exist.
That's right.
They just don't exist. Doesn't exist. I mean,
Tim, I'm not as bleak as you though, because not only does China hold a large amount of the U.S. debt, they hold a lot of the world's debt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, including the developing countries in Africa, they were investing like crazy. They're now being cut off, and what I'm pissed off as the big tech firms, they had never really shut down production in China during Wuhan, during the run up for PPE exports, right? Yeah. So that's my business, and so what I was astounded at was as soon as they released the funds for the U.S. to buy, a lot of good-natured, good-hearted, well-intentioned people volunteer their own money. I work with I can tell you a number of people, individuals, not getting government money, but saying, I want to do something. I feel a need to do something. And they did a reach into our CEO, and it comes down the chain of me trying to help get them. They have a friend in China who makes masks. He's going to make masks, and he's going to send them over. And they found that even though they're millionaires in the U.S., they have no idea what goes on in China and how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And they got screwed.
And
I don't have it anymore. I wish I did have it, but I had a back in right before the big Chinese holiday in early May, which I forgot what it was. The line at Pudong Airport in Shanghai to offload trucks full of PPE. My customer sent a picture of his driver who took it from his phone. He's standing on his cab. He gets outside of his cab, and he looks down at the line. You don't see the end of the line of trucks. And he turns around, and there's a line around the mile, and then it goes around and he had it all zoomed in. It was miles long of trucks waiting for days to get past security by the Chinese government, who would fail every third truck. Oh,
automatically.
Sorry, wrong paperwork, wrong packaging, wrong label, wrong mask. And meanwhile, they've been on the road for like 3 days from the provinces where they make it.
Wow.
And so the air jam was so bad that full 100-ton freighters that were paid for were leaving empty because the Chinese the Civil Aviation Agency of China, the CAAC, said, "Sorry, your slot time is up. You need to fly." But we're waiting for our cargo. It's back at security. So sorry,
That's
gone.
Crazy.
Do you guys
So
think
that
the
customer-
virus is contained there?
No, hell no.
No.
Hell no.
But I also think, to Adam's point, where or I think you even said it, LK, where it's been manufactured. I mean, the way it's affecting people, it affects people with underlying. I think this is the diabolical thing. I think they wanted to use it on themselves, on their people.
Possible.
I do not think that it was intended to be weaponized against the United States and the rest of the world. I think they're running out of resources, like you said, Ned, about having to go to Africa, and they're not getting what they wanted in Africa, because Africa is mineral rich.
And they're being cut off. They got bad publicity over this. But I know I work with the Europeans, and not to distract from your last point, but to support it, a lot of Europeans are saying no more China shit. We're not stupid. US too. Which is what I'm pissed off is why don't we, why isn't this administration incentivizing those companies producing in China to get the tax breaks, bring it home, do it here, do it in Central America.
I think that they were going to use it on their own people to do as a form of birth control, population control. They already did the one child, one family, one child, right? And I think they were going to use this because look at who the most vulnerable are. The elderly, and people with underlying conditions. What dictator hasn't said, let's get rid of the weakest first? They always do that, right? And the fact that it's not affecting younger little people, kids. I mean, that tells you that biology doesn't necessarily work that way. There's always outliers, but it just tells me, not being in science, but looking at the way that it's affecting people, that they did it on purpose and they fucked it up. And then it affected everybody.
We could do a whole segment.
So I'm just gonna wrap it up with just one last question for everyone. Just go around the table, go do this lightning round style. Do you think that if under the assumption that this is completely manufactured, is this the blueprint for chemical and biochemical biological warfare? So Tim and Canton, this is your push, so I'll let you go.
Capital Y-E, yes. And I think and by the way, we should be doing the same.
We are.
Yeah, exactly. Right. BSL-4, baby. Yes.
I think it is, and I think it has been done in the past at a smaller scale. I think the best way to, counterattack is to attack them,
Don't forget Legionnaire's disease, right? Funny how that came and went.
And the U.S. is absolutely doing it. So are all the nations. They all have biological. We just have contracts or treaties that saying we don't use them. The Chinese break those contracts.
All right.
Cool. All right. I think that was good, Tim. You're always welcome to come back.
Boys,
Tim,
thanks for having me on. This is my one of my passions. Right now, I'm so pissed. I'm going to start reading more about this stupid 1,000 fucking talents program. I want to figure out how to sabotage it.
I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole tonight too.
We need a part 2 of Timmy here.
Yes, definitely.
We'll definitely have you back.
You want to hear the frightening thing? I talked to pharmaceutical companies and talking about the vaccine that's coming.
Yeah.
They've been talking about India production, which is always scary to me because they're so cheap. They don't care about the levels. But Belgium, US, Germany, Italy, Spain, Mexico as well.
I don't trust chemicals from Germany.
Then, but then one of them said, yeah, and we're going to be producing in China too. So I was on it. Now I'm.
Oh my God.
I'm a member. I'm part of like a tripartite group of people, and I'm like, so the company that launched the virus, you're going to have them produce the vaccine.
Yeah.
And they kind of said like, well, we have had a plant there for a long time, for many years.
Yeah, they gotta use it. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not buying your product.
So quick question: would you
I'm
guys
not take the vaccine anyway?
Okay, you answered. Same here, Ned. Would you guys?
I'm a
take the vaccine?
pro-vaxxer.
No,
By the way,
no way.
I'm pro-vaxxer, but not this.
Me too.
I am pro-vaccine.
I don't need a flu shot.
I am completely pro-vaccine. I think if you're an anti-vaxxer, you're a fucking idiot and an asshole, and you should probably lose custody of your children. Yeah. But if I won't even buy first generation technology, I'm not pumping myself or my kids with first generation vaccine.
Especially if
No fucking chance.
Besides, the flu shot for me has never worked. I took it twice in my life, and I got the flu.
Never take it. Yeah.
I got sick.
And this is just a virus. This is a virus strain of influenza.
Yep.
It's not a huge deal.
It's strain number 19.
Flu.
My company's sending me. I don't laugh. I kind of. And I smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and I'm almost like, dare me, come and get me. But my company's sending me a test packet. They wanted me to take a test by the 18th, and I'm like, I'm not going to take it.
Oh,
by the way, they didn't say I have to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I said, well, I'm not going to take it, the COVID test, unless I feel symptoms.
Yep.
So why would I take it and waste it? Because I know I don't have it. I was just with 700 maniacs in Saco driving, for Christ's sake. Well, 699 because they haven't there.
Exactly. So on that note, if we're going back to Saco, then like LK said, thank you for thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. This is a great time. Great time.
Guys, I'll see you next week.
Thanks. Yep.
Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.